Thank you very much, Matthias and Mario, and welcome everybody. Good morning, or good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm actually just outside London, so it's good morning for me. I'm going to talk briefly about Phoenix Copper Ltd. We are an emerging producer of copper, gold, silver, based in Idaho in the United States. We're listed on London's AIM market under the ticker PXC, and we trade on New York's OTCQX. We actually also trade ADRs under the ticker PXCLY on OTCQX with the Bank of New York Mellon as our program manager. I should draw your attention to the disclaimer. I'll skip them through that and now focus on a general overview of the company. So as I mentioned, we are focused on Idaho in the USA. We're developing the past producing high-grade Empire copper mine. Now this was an underground mine which was mining high-grade head grades of between 6 to 8% copper, producing in the first half of the 1990s. The mine closed down when the workforce was conscripted into the US military. We are in a prolific mineralized district. Empire is the epicenter of 3 mineralized faults, and indeed only 4 hours drive south of us is the giant copper mine Bingham Canyon that's been in production for, I believe, over 100 years. And in fact, our consultant geologist believes that we currently only understand and have explored perhaps 1% of the total ore system potential. We are focusing initially on a simple heap leach SXEW open pit mine above the historically mined underground deposit. The in situ value of the open pit measured and indicated resource at today's metal prices is in the order of $1.5 billion. We expect to be in production, despite admittedly COVID-related supply chain and delivery time delays, in approximately a year's time. So first half of next year, and we will initially produce copper and zinc with gold and silver to follow. And this will generate cash to finance ongoing exploration and development of the greater ore system. Pre-production CapEx has been initially estimated to be in the region of $53 million. We anticipate net revenue of over $800 million for an initial 10-year operating life. Cash operating cost of only $1.83 a pound. Copper today, I think, is up over, well over $4 a pound. Life of mine EBITDA of some $310 million. Free cash in year one of over $40 million, and a post-tax MPV of $105 million and an IRR of 47%. But I would emphasize that all those numbers will run at a $3.60 copper price. And as I've mentioned, the copper price is well above that today. At today's prices, the post-tax MPV would be well over 150 million. The IRR would be pushing the best part of 100%, and payback would probably be less than 1 year. We've submitted a plan of operations to the permitting authorities. We did that in June last year, so that process is well underway. We're an experienced management team. I'll talk a bit about that later. We are committed to sustainable operations. We've recently created a board-level ESG and sustainability committee. And subject to further test work, we hope to process our precious metals using non-toxic, environmentally friendly ammonium thiosulfate rather than cyanide. That's significant as well. We have fantastic exploration upside. There's over 32 square kilometers of mineralized claims at Empire, numerous historic mines and workings scattered through the area. We have 2 cobalt properties to the north on the Idaho Cobalt Belt, and we've recently agreed an earn-in agreement on one of those with First Cobalt, which is now Electra Battery Materials Corporation. So here we are in Idaho, USA, over on the west side. Excellent infrastructure. Empire is in Custer County, in the middle of the state, next to the town of Mackay, and the cobalt properties are to the north in Lemhi County. Idaho is a pro-mining resource-based economy. it has the lowest perceived mining investment risk in the world, according to the Mining Journal Risk Report. So we're in a great location and a great jurisdiction, and we have the full support of the local community in the town of Mackay. As mentioned, we are committed to ESG and sustainability. We've appointed an ESG coordinator, Lenny Wilkie. She's based in Mackay and liaises closely with the local community and with our recently created ESG and Sustainability Committee, which is chaired by Catherine Evans, one of our non-executive directors. On the corporate front, as Mario mentioned, we've got a market cap currently of some £60 million, $82 million thereabouts, 121 million shares in issue, and 138 million on a fully diluted basis. We have a loyal and supportive shareholder base. It's a good mix of high net worth, retail, and increasingly institutional shareholders. Directors own just under 4.2% plus options. We are actively looking to expand our trading and shareholder base in Europe and the US, and we have a strong cash position. We've got $14 million in the bank at the moment with no debt. There are 3 executive directors, myself, Ryan McDermott, who's based in Idaho in the US, and Marcus Edwards-Jones, our chairman. 3 non-executive directors, Andre Cohen, Jason Riley, who's chairman and CEO of our partner company in the Empire Mine, XGen Resources, which holds a 20% interest, and Catherine Evans, who I mentioned chairs our ESG and Sustainability Committee, plus an advisory board. I would point out Harry Kenyon Slaney, who is an executive at Rio Tinto, and a strong project management team on site, which I have to admit is growing as each month goes by. So it's a good combination of professional, mining, technical, financial, and corporate people. So these are our initial targets. Let me start by just re-emphasizing that we completed last year an £18 million oversubscribed financing. So we have plenty of cash, certainly sufficient cash to cover all operational and corporate costs well into next year when we will be in production, including funding exciting exploration programs later this year. So the targets include the Empire open pit mine, which we will start with, the historically mined underground mine, the Red Star extension to Empire, which is a high-grade silver-lead extension and goes through to a further historically mined area, and then the Navarre Creek Gold Zone, which is a very exciting gold area, which I will explain. We plan to finance construction of the open pit with debt, probably through non-dilutive loan notes, so we are not currently planning any more equity issues. Apart from ongoing pre-construction feasibility, engineering and design, we've recently completed magnetic surveys on both Red Star and Navarre Creek, which confirmed our expectations and identified further significant anomalies worthy of attention and will help with ongoing drill targeting. And this year we are planning exciting exploration and drilling programs, not only on the underground sulfides, but on Red Star and at Navarre Creek. In all, it's an aggressive multi-metal exploration and drilling program, which we think will provide plenty of news flow, and we believe will be game-changing for our resource base, future growth and market value. So now we'll look at the projects in more detail. That's a shot of the Empire Mine Hill at sunrise. The Empire Mine, as I mentioned, this is an historically mined mine. Head grades of 6 to 8%, which is high. When we got involved, there were already 287 holes drilled into this. We've drilled another 158. So we absolutely know the open pit deposit is there. There's no doubt about it. We are now just looking to complete the financing and permitting, get into construction, and then into production. I've mentioned that we've submitted the plan of operations. I've talked a little bit about the economics of the mine. Very attractive. In year one, we would expect, in the first 12 months, we'd expect some $90 million of revenue, $56 million of EBITDA, and over $40 million of post-tax cash flow. Again, that's at $3.60 copper. Since April 2018, we've grown the resource over 200%. This just shows how that has grown. And currently in the measured and indicated category, we've got 87,500 tons of copper, 43,800 tons of zinc, 238,000 ounces of gold, and 7.6 million ounces of silver. That's in the measured and indicated category. The in situ value of that at today's metal prices would be pushing 1.5 billion, with another 600 million or more sitting in the inferred resource category. We're very excited about this development. This will be relevant for the processing of the precious metals. Our ore is amenable to processing using ATS, ammonium thiosulfate, rather than cyanide. I mean, this is a non-toxic, it's environmentally friendly, and consequently, of course, will assist with permitting, but further adds to our sustainability and ESG credentials. And we'll be carrying on with metallurgical test work on this. That little gold button you see there is a gold button produced using ATS from the ore at the Empire open pit. Preliminary economic analysis, I think I've probably covered that in enough detail already. And that slide is rather detailed, but gives the full detail. Perhaps I would just highlight once again the cash operating cost of the initial copper zinc project, $1.83 per pound of copper equivalent, and with a copper price of roughly $4.50 at the moment. I think you can see there's a lot of margin there. That's a general arrangement of the project. So the open pit is up on the top of the hill. The leach pads and the crusher will be down in the valley. We will use gravity to transport the ore down to the leach pads. An aerial tramway is currently being proposed, which again would be environmentally friendly, would generate its own electricity, which we would plow back into the project. And the town of Mackay is just up in the top right-hand corner. So we're very, very close to the town of Mackay. On the permitting side, environmental side, permitting is underway. Plan of operations filed in June. It's going through the process. No reason to assume it won't come out at the other end. Baseline studies have all been completed, including wildlife, flora, hydrology, soil and rock, etc. No critical issues identified. We are committed to being a responsible miner. I've mentioned that. Baseline studies done, non-toxic ATS. The open pit is on patented land. I'll come on to that because that is interesting. And we will be producing metals that will support the clean energy revolution, electric vehicles, etc., etc. So this is a view of the Empire Hill. And you can see on the left the main pit and the north pit. And then roughly a kilometre over to the right, you've got Red Star, which is our new discovery. And then you've got the historically mined White Knob Bluebird mines. And there are roads now driven through the whole area. And the little town of Mackay, which is only 500 odd people, is at the bottom of the hill on US Highway 93. You can actually walk to the mine from US Highway 93. So we're in a fantastic location, excellent infrastructure. Everything is very accessible. As I mentioned, the open pit is just the start. This will generate the cash for us to get stuck into the mineralized district that we know we're sitting on. Red Star, Navarre Creek, the underground deposit, the extensions up to Horseshoe, and indeed the Idaho Cobalt Belt to the north. Land holdings, 32.51 square kilometers of patented and unpatented claims. Now, you cannot stake patented claims in the US anymore. You haven't been able to do that for a while. But because Empire was historically staked in the late 1800s, quite a bit of our land is actually patented, which means we own it, both the surface and the subsurface rights. The permitting is therefore very straightforward. It only involves the state government and not the federal government. Phoenix, ourselves, the parent company, we own 22 of those patented claims. And we also hold a royalty that originally was being paid to, or would have been paid to, a third party, but will now come to us, and I'll come on to that. Here is a schematic of the land holdings, so you can see the Empire red area and the blue area around it. Those are all the patented claims, and then we've got the up into Horseshoe, Windy Devil, and over on the left you've got the rather large Navarre Creek gold claim block. The Red Star deposit, which includes the White Knob, Bluebird and Horseshoe sulfide deposits, high-grade silver and lead, 2.5 kilometer mineralized strike. We drilled 3 holes into this when we discovered Red Star, and from just 3 holes we got a maiden resource of some 103,000 tons with pretty attractive grades. And Red Star appears to connect to the historically mined Horseshoe White Knob area, and you can see there the grades that they were actually mining: over 200 grams per ton silver, 19% lead, 6.5% zinc and 0.73% copper. So this is an exciting prospect. We've recently completed ground magnetic surveys, and they discovered 3 new anomalies well worthy of attention. The drilling that we've done and the magnetic surveys we've done will help delineate a further drilling program, and we will move forward as fast as we can on Red Star to generate a resource that would be large enough to turn this potentially into our second mine as fast as possible. That is the maiden resource. I think I've covered that. Navarre Creek. So you can see the Navarre Creek claim block over on the left. This is almost 14.5 square kilometers in its own right, a 6.1 kilometer mineralized strike. The recent geophysical ground and aerial surveys confirmed 2 new anomalies, but most importantly, the geology here at Navarre Creek is similar to the high-yielding volcanic-hosted gold deposits of the Carlin Trend in northern Nevada. And of those of you who might be familiar with the Carlin Trend, there are some very serious multi-million ounce deposits on that trend owned by companies such as Barrick. A couple of pictures of Navarre Creek here. You can see the gold in oxidized form outcropping in picture 1, an old portal in picture 2. We will not forget the underground mine. Now, we know it's there. It was historically mined. We know it was mined at high grade. We have put a few holes into it, and we will put more in. The drilling program last year intercepted 8.38% copper, which is great news, confirms the high grade mineralization, and we will continue drilling into this. We believe this is potentially a world-class polymetallic ore body sitting below the oxide open pit. And in fact, at depth, we think this is probably, and this is very significant, a molybdenum tungsten porphyry. And in fact, just before the mine shut down, the last shipments out of the mine at depth were taking out over 4% tungsten, which is very high grade. If we now move 100 kilometers to the north into Lemhi County, we're on the Idaho Cobalt Belt. This is the only cobalt belt in the whole of the USA. Historically mined, it's a bit small, but right in the middle of it, there's actually a town called Cobalt, which is a ghost town now, but I think the name gives the game away. We've got 2 properties here, one in the north, Bighorn, one in the south, Red Castle, which sits right next to the Iron Creek mine, which is being developed by First Cobalt Corporation, now renamed Electra Battery Materials. And indeed, we've done an earn-in agreement with Electra on Red Castle, whereby they will spend the money on the project and earn a stake in the project and carry us with it for the time being. So we won't have to spend money on this, but the development will continue. The other property is held in a wholly owned subsidiary called Salmon Canyon Resources, and that's the Bighorn property, 29 unpatented claims, 580 acres, and we will look to develop that as appropriate. So if I now just move on to the investment case, to summarize, near-term production of copper, zinc, and then gold, silver, an experienced management team, a first world mining location, a major mineralized system, We are committed to sustainable operations. We've got fantastic exploration upside, giving exposure to a diversified portfolio of in-demand metals for the clean energy revolution. And we hope to do this with minimal or no further dilution to shareholders, generating cash from the first mine to help build a company with minimum dilution. And this is important to me. I'm a shareholder, and although we do plan to pass a lot of the cash back into the project, we're already building the building blocks, if you like, of a dividend strategy. I would love to see the company paying dividends as soon as possible. Since we listed this company on AIM in 2017, all the shareholder money that we've raised has gone into the project by way of a shareholder loan. And currently, the operating company in Idaho now owes us about $20 million. Once we get into production, that $20 million will come back to us. In addition, as I mentioned, we've now acquired some of the royalties that were or would have been paid to third parties. And so it is our firm intention, I'm not going to promise any particular starting date, but as soon as is prudently possible, the cash from the repayment of that loan plus the cash from the royalties will form a basis of a dividend strategy. So I look forward to this, not just for capital appreciation, which I believe will truly be there given the significance of the mineralized district that we're sitting on, but also hopefully it will generate some good revenue by way of dividends as well. There's our contact sheet, and there's an appendix, which is a few photographs, which I'll leave on the screen and flick through perhaps as I take any questions. So thank you very much indeed for listening, and I will be very happy now to try to answer any questions any of you may have. Please don't be too technical, because I'm not technical myself.
Richard, thank you very much. For the audience, you can post questions through the chat or the Q&A function, and I will forward them. We already have a few questions coming in. So the first one is, maybe it's too technical. Can you tell us more about how your solution to process the precious metals?
No, I'm not going to get into the metallurgical aspects of that. There's a huge amount of test work has gone on at various scale levels in the laboratory just down in Utah, and we know that ATS works on the precious metals. We have produced gold using it. Our ore is amenable to it. The recoveries I know that we're getting using ATS on the gold and the silver are slightly higher than the recoveries we got when we tried cyanide. So we're very excited about it, particularly in the current environment, where I think if we can go forward with a precious metals mine that is not using cyanide, I think that's a big plus for us. So our team will continue focusing on it. We're not, as I mentioned, the gold and the silver comes into play on the open pit mine about 3 or 4 years into the project. We may be able to bring that forward. We'll try to do that. But it's good news, but I wouldn't even pretend to try to tell you how it works.
Okay. The follow-up question was, you generate quite a high IRR, over 50%, and can you tell us more about the deposit characteristics that lead to such a high IRR?
Well, it's an open pit mine. And it's high grade for an open pit mine, and so that really is the project economics. Yeah, we will be recovering decent value of metal from every ton of ore that we mine, and the operating costs won't be particularly high because it's an open pit mine. The capital costs are pretty reasonable, and the tax regime in Idaho is very fair as well. And you put all that together, and those are the numbers that come out.
All right. And what are your milestones for the next 12 months? That's
a good question. Well, the main milestones will be to finance, permit, and construct the open pit mine. The final feasibility study is due for completion in April, May. We are already talking to debt financiers about the finance to build the mine, and we will be getting on with that over the next 2-3 months. We've got an exciting exploration program planned for the summer, not just further drilling into the underground historic mine, but also at Red Star and at Navarre Creek. Annual accounts will be out in probably around the end of March, if that's a milestone. But all in all, we're looking to put good news flow into the market. We'll hopefully keep the market wide awake with what we're doing. Let's put it that way.
The next two questions are about ESG. The first one is rather broad. So what is your ESG approach?
I think the best way to answer that is to say to be a good corporate citizen. I mean, the town of Mackay exists because of the mine. The only reason Mackay is there because the Empire mine was discovered and was mined in the 1900s. We have to be a good corporate citizen. We have the support, the overwhelming support of the townsfolk of Mackay, and we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing for the town, bring wealth, further employment, help with the schools, etc. But also, of course, we want to protect the environment. I mean, this is a beautiful area. It's a brownfield site. It was historically mined. If anything, we'll be cleaning it up a little bit. Ryan, our CEO, his family are local. Ryan's father founded the local fishing association. Ryan is a keen fisherman, fishes in the river, the river that runs through the valley, the Empire Valley. Lenny Wilkie, our ESG program coordinator, she's native to the area as well. Her family are ranchers. I mean, we have absolutely no desire whatsoever to damage the environment that we live in. That's hugely important. But we want to be a good corporate citizen. We'd like this operation to be as sustainable as possible. And in fact, I can tell you now that Catherine Evans, our NED, and who's chairman of our sustainability committee, she is in Mackay right now, talking to the locals, I believe, forming a committee with them that will work with us as we build the mine and operate the mine, fully involving the community in as positive a way as we can at every level, from the police force, the fire force, the forestry people, the schools, etc.
Perfect, excellent response. There was just a follow-up question. Maybe you can give examples. Are there plans to re-naturalize the area or something? But I think you already answered most of it.
Well, I haven't, and the answer is yes. I mean, we have to. We're in the United States. So I can tell you now that significant sums of money have already gone down by way of reclamation bonds, insurance bonds, all the things that we're expected to do in order to restore the land when we finished mining it. And if for any reason it's not us, or we're not able to do it, then through the reclamation bonds and the insurance policies that we're putting down and paying for, the cash will be there for somebody else to do it. So yes, we will mine the property and we will then put the property back to where it was before as best we can.
The next question is about the structure of your financing, which is really unique in the market. And how did you decide on such a shareholder value-driven business model in regards of the financing structure?
Well, I think we're fairly lucky that we've got a loyal shareholder base. We were heavily oversubscribed at the last placing, so we did take the cash. So we've got plenty of cash in the bank to do what we need to do. As far as building the mine, I mentioned that we've got a $20 million loan into the operating company already. I don't think there's any need for us to put further equity as such into the mine. So we are looking to finance this with debt. All the indications are from the various institutions and other third parties that we've spoken to, is that this is eminently financeable by debt. It's not a huge amount of capex. We're in a very safe jurisdiction, and we've got conversations well underway with various parties on how to do that, and we will obviously at the appropriate time give more details on the structure of how we're going to finance it with debt. But one way or another, we will do everything we can to avoid any further equity issues in order to build the mine.
Okay. Then again, a technical question. The Empire mine, can you say something about the grade and the thickness and the strip ratio, or is that too technical?
Well, the grade is high. The strip ratio is low for the open pit. I'm not going to go into detail. The numbers change, and as I say, the final feasibility study is being prepared right now. But any technical questions like that, we'd be more than happy to field them, by email or through you, Matthias, and I can get Ryan McDermott, our CEO, to give appropriate answers if that's a good way to go forward. I think it would be wrong for me to start commenting on some of these technical matters, because I may give you the wrong numbers, and I would not want to do that.
That's perfectly fine. And another rather broad question. Someone wants to understand your SWOT, the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to your business.
Well, I think there are opportunities everywhere. Wherever we put the drill rigs, wherever the geologists wander around, we seem to find more mineralization. And we are clearly on a mineralized, system, basically, of which Empire is, as I mentioned, the epicenter of 3 different faults. We have the evidence of the historical mine. We've got Bingham Canyon to the south. You have Yellowstone to the northeast, massive geological stuff going on up there. So we know we're in an exciting area. What we've got to do is understand it as quickly and as best we can. So I think there are opportunities all over the place. We're in a very safe jurisdiction geopolitically, which gives us a lot of comfort. We've got a great team. We've got a management team, frankly, that's done this before in significantly more challenging environments than Idaho. I mean, between us, we have built mines in various parts of the world that as I say, are significantly more challenging than Idaho. Threats, well, metal prices, but I don't think anyone really thinks copper is going to crash, given its role in the clean energy revolution that clearly is going to happen, electric vehicles, etc. Permitting, I don't think so. We can't give a precise time on when the permitting for the unpatented land will be cleared later this year is the expectation. It's going through the process at the moment. It's an established process. We're doing everything that's expected of us. We have the overwhelming support of the local community. We have the support of the state government in Boise, the capital of Idaho. We're on a brownfield site, so we're not going into pristine environment, territory and damaging the environment. We're in a mining zone, and the rivers that run through the valley, which is important in Idaho, they don't connect to the Pacific Ocean. So as a result, there are no migratory fish issues because the salmon couldn't get to the relevant rivers. And as a result of that, there were no indigenous sort of native tribal issues because they generally weren't hunting and feeding down the valley either because there were no fish. So in a way, we're in a perfect location in a great jurisdiction. Technology, it's tried and tested, certainly for the initial open pit, copper and zinc. ATS, that is relatively new, although to be fair, it is being used in other mines around the world. I believe Barrick use ATS on one of their mines, and I do know that the largest single open pit gold mine on the planet, which is Muruntau in Uzbekistan, that also uses ATS. So I don't see too many threats, but we've got to be realistic. Time, perhaps, is the biggest threat. Things might take a bit longer than we expected, and COVID clearly has had an impact. I mean, there's no doubt that the supply chain, lead time, delivery on some of the capital items have all changed since we first modeled this. And with it, some of the costs are changing. Fuel, so operating costs could go up a bit, but at the same time, metal prices seem to have gone up very nicely as well. So I think we feel, we're realistic, but we feel pretty comfortable.
Okay. So for the last question, to the audience, you're welcome to ask more questions in the chat or the Q&A function. The last question currently is, how much did you pay to buy back the royalties?
Including the purchase of the patented land, I think the total was about $1.7 million.
Okay.
And the royalties that we've purchased over the life of the mine are many, many times that.
Okay. So currently we don't have any more questions left. I think we have 7 minutes left, so we can maybe just wait 1 or 2 minutes. Maybe another question will come up. And
well, I can show a few pictures here of the historic operations, 1901 to 1942. I mean, it was pretty serious stuff. And then down here, this is some of what's been going on at Red Star. And then back up here, this is Empire again. There's some of the historic stuff there as well. You can see in that picture in the center, the copper clearly coming through in the ore there. And I mean, that's a beautiful turquoise.
okay, now 2 more questions just came in. What was the reason for the Empire mine that it had been closed?
The workforce was conscripted into the war effort.
Okay.
And the mine was shut. And since then, it's mainly been owned by Canadian juniors that, as technology changed, saw the potential for an open pit deposit on the surface. Didn't really fancy trying to go back in underground because that's expensive, complicated. And so various companies drilled holes in the open pit. And it got to the point where no one could drill any more holes without taking a production decision. And I don't think any of them were really meaning to do that. So it ended up with a company called XGen Resources, and the president of XGen, Jason Riley, who's one of our non-executive directors, I think he recognized that this was a time to bring other parties into the picture. And we knew Jason, and we went into discussion with XGen, and once we realized this project was available, we snapped it up as quickly as we could.
Mm-hmm. A rather general question. What do you like most about the mining business?
Giving presentations like this. No, I think, no, let's be, well, first of all, you do get to, I mean, I'm an accountant, but you get to see some beautiful parts of the world in some cases, and this certainly is that. It's quite a small business. It's a very fun industry with good people in it, and there's a lot of camaraderie, and it's just a very nice sector to work in. But as I say, I'm an accountant, so I try to take care of the money and the bookkeeping and that side of things.
All right, fantastic. I think these were all the questions. Thank you very much, Richard, for this great presentation. We have a few minutes left. Maybe you can wait for another question, or I just thank you and we wait for the next presentation.
I'm quite happy to sit here, Matthias, if there are any further questions. We've got, what, 3 minutes to go?
We've got 3 minutes, yes. How did you get involved in the business? Did you found it, or did you just when did you join?
You mean the mining sector?
The mining sector, yes.
Oh, that is a long story. I was distributing computer software in Finland at around the time that the Soviet Union broke up. And it turned out that the chairman of the company we were dealing with was a Russian, not a Finn. And his parents lived in Tajikistan, the Soviet Socialist Republic of Tajikistan at the time. And so we got involved talking to the Tajik government because they knew the Soviet Union was splitting up and they wanted access to the West and some help. So we met the Tajik government in Helsinki and put together a structure to assist them. The Soviet Union then broke up and we found ourselves as the first foreign delegation into Tajikistan with a mandate to develop the country. What became immediately apparent was that one of the main potentials of Tajikistan was its mineral potential. So we took people from the mining journal with us and started to focus on that. And that's actually how I got into the sector. We went on to put a mine into production in Tajikistan. We subsequently put mines into production in Uzbekistan. And now with a brand new company, Phoenix, we're in Idaho in the USA.
So quite a lot of experience. Yeah, we have 30 seconds left for the next presentation. So thank you again, Richard. Great presentation.